Hello and welcome to today's video on high altitude investing. In today's video, I'm going to be doing start to finish technical analysis on Antshares/NEO as suggested by Super Caffeine Addict. Thanks for the comment, it was the most upvoted. So comment in the section below what you want me to do technical analysis on next week, and I'll make a video next Monday from start to finish TA. So let's get right into this. Alright, so I'm at my screen here and I'm looking at the NEO chart, or Antshares rebranded to NEO, and I'm just going to start in the hourly time frame. And the first thing that I'm personally going to look for is the waves, the Elliott waves in this chart. So if I look, the idea behind Elliott waves is to give you an idea of where you are in the story of a move, or aka a pump and then the pullback that comes afterwards. Because there's always a pump and then there's always a pullback afterwards. Nothing can go up forever, right? So that's what I'm looking for in this NEO chart, is the Elliott waves. The first wave, I would suspect, starts right here when the volume really comes in on the market. As you can see, I have my candlesticks a little bit of a different color, but it really doesn't mean anything. The main reason I do this is just to switch things up, because I look at a lot of charts and sometimes it gets a little old to see the same old colors. But I have the stock RSI and the Ichimoku cloud. Those are the only two indicators that I find myself using and coming back to every single day. So that's the main ones that I'm focusing on this. But this is what I would consider the first wave, from this pump where volume comes in to our first rejection in prices, and then a retracement back to the Ichimoku cloud at 0.0034 Bitcoin per NEO. And then I would suspect that this would be your second wave, this push up to 0.0063, and then this would be your pullback on the second wave, meaning that we could have another parabolic move up. Now let's go ahead and use Fibonacci to kind of determine where that might be. Since we are in the beginning of a wave, then we need to draw our Fibonacci out to the top, meaning that you don't just go from the bottom to the top on this one, you go to the bottom to where you're expecting it to start to retrace back from. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here where the volume comes in and draw my Fibonacci. Again, the Fibonacci tool is up here on the left side, third one down, and then you click this over arrow and find it. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull this up until I see the 786 becoming the resistance on the first wave. So as you can see here, the first wave where it rejects is the 786 resistance. Now, this is a pretty good way to determine a target on prices. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up to 0.0093. If it hits 0.0093, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 0.01 and reject. So that's, generally they might overshoot or undershoot a little bit, but I would feel safe betting on this to go 0.0093 Bitcoin. So that's a pretty easy way, just using the Elliott waves and the Fibonacci tool to kind of project where it might bounce and reject a little bit in prices. This is one that I'm very bullish on, by the way, and if it rejects up here, I expect it to pull back and then continue on a bigger Elliott wave, making this the first wave. I'll show you kind of how that looks in a minute. But what I suspect is that we push up to this 0.0093 range based on the Fibonacci and the Elliott waves. A couple other things that are pointing me out to this trade are strong volume. We've just had consistent exponential volume on this little trend here. It's also starting to go parabolic, meaning the prices are slowly ramping up into a straight up direction. So I suspect it will really take off here soon. I'm going to go and draw this curve for you guys so you can see. Do you see how the prices are really starting to curve up and starting to ramp up? That means it's just going to get quicker and quicker at going straight up. I mean, since I decided to record this video, it started to go towards the 382 Fibonacci already. So it's got a lot of upward movement, but we want to look at a couple other time frames here. First of all, I'd like to point out that we are very strong in the stochastic RSI on the hourly, meaning that we still have a lot of ways to go up before we see any oversold. And then I suspect it would pull back a couple times and then continue oscillating, and then we'd see it get oversold somewhere up here at the top. overbought, excuse me. Overbought basically means that it's at the top of the stochastic RSI, and oversold basically means that it's at the bottom. So in layman's terms, if it's overbought, you can expect pulling back, and if it's oversold, you can expect pushing up. So yeah, definitely one that I'm keeping my eyes on, one that I'm very bullish on myself. Also very highly requested, which is another good sign. If I have a coin that a lot of people are referring me to, then generally that means the hype is there. And in cryptocurrency, all you need is a little bit of hype and a little bit of volume, and you're set to go for a pump. So I think that NEO or Antshares is definitely going to pump here. So let's look at some bigger time frames and kind of see where we're at. I like to check out all time frames. That's another recommendation of mine. I'm going to go ahead and click on the 4 hour. We're oversold on the 4 hour on the stochastic RSI. Zoom in a little bit. And depending on how this candle forms, I'm going to go ahead and delete this just because we know where the target is now, so I don't really necessarily need it. If we look, oh, and by the way, I put these charts in the description as always, so you guys can come back and play them later and see how I was on my prediction, so that we can all learn from this. Also, if you guys have anything that you want to point out to me that I could be messing up on, go ahead and let me know. But generally, I find that this works extremely well for me. My personal technical analysis has proven to work well. So this is definitely something that happens a lot in crypto. As you see these ramps up, especially when they're freshly added. Sometimes you'll see them pump like after, sometimes they dump really hard right at the start. You'll have this huge candle down, and sometimes you have to kind of move your screen out of the way so that like it doesn't scale to that dump, so that you can actually see like the price a little bit closer, because that dump is usually like really tall, so it makes your chart look really small because it came from like a really high point in the chart. So one tip that I have, if you do find a coin where that's the case, go ahead and zoom in past that dump and let it scale so that you can see this entire move a little bit more clearly to perform your technical analysis on it. And so yeah, we're oversold on the 4 hour. Let's check the daily. We don't even have readings on the daily. I guess there hasn't been really enough time for it to make any readings. On the 15-minute candlesticks, we do look a little bit overbought, but it's something that's going to pull back quickly and keep pushing here as we have Ichimoku cloud support, and I suspect that we're holding the support of the 618 Fibonacci. So I really don't see it dropping below that point. But yeah, let's switch back to the hourly because it's a really nice looking chart, and let's kind of see where this might retrace. And I'll show you what I mean by the Elliott, this being the first move in the next Elliott. So actually I will redraw these Elliott waves. Been really into Elliott waves lately. I recommend doing a little research on them. They've helped me kind of understand a little bit better what's going on in the markets, give you a more full understanding of where the prices are going and can reject. And also it helps train you to think both bullish and bearish, because you know where you should expect some pulling back in the markets or some bearish movement, meaning down. But yeah, I suspect that if we have this Elliott here, we'll make a nice little retracement in NEOS, probably down to the 786. That's usually 786 or the 618 is where you generally see a bounce. So it would be one of these 2 points in which we see a bounce. You could set buy orders on both of them if you like, and set your stop loss down at like 0.003 after this move once it retraces back down. But yeah, I would suspect that we have this push up in the market and then a pullback, in which case, this is what I mean by it being the first move in the Elliott sequence. You can see how usually when this stuff happens, then this would be the number 1 in the move, the C would be the number 2, and then you would have this continue on its trend upwards in an even more drastic parabolic movement. Now, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if this happens. I think most of crypto is going parabolic right now. We're about to break $120 billion. I made a little bet with another YouTuber that we would break 120 billion because they thought the markets were going bearish, but I saw a clear ascending triangle, an uptrend, and a continuation pattern. So I think that pretty much everything's going to go up. Once, you know, Bitcoin, once it kind of rejects for the first time, then I suspect all of the alts will just follow them up, because that money has to go somewhere, and usually it goes into altcoins because they move more percentage, so it's more profitable for people to trade. But can you see how that Elliott wave can continue to fractal out? This one becomes the one move, and then it makes into a bigger retracement, and then you can even do that again with an ABC correction, and then that becomes the one move and makes for a bigger pump. And so you can keep going with that, but I really do like Elliott waves quite a bit lately. I don't use it as like my main trading style. My main trading style is usually buying the 786 dips on an initial pump. So like when this retraces back down, then I would be interested in buying it. That's generally how I trade. My main setups is buying this Fibonacci retracements, but it is useful if a move has already begun, or if you don't see a specific buy signal in the setup that you know, then it can be very useful to come back and check out a chart and see where it's going to go if you haven't entered, especially for like if you guys ask me to do technical analysis on something and I'm trying to kind of project where it's at in the story. But yeah, so that's basically where I expect your first sell-offs, is in this area at the 5 point on the Elliott waves. Oops. Come on. I'll go ahead and drop the price in a little checkbox for you guys. So yeah, that's 0.0094 actually is a little bit better. 0.0094, first expected rejection. Expected, wow, I'm terrible at spelling, rejection, but I'm working on it, educating myself every single day in all aspects, because I find that education is one of the most important keys to a happy, healthy, and productive lifestyle. Little side life tip there in high altitude. So yeah, that's my first expected rejection. I will drop this chart in the description below, and you guys can check back later. Thank you so much for tuning in today's video. I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comments, or shoot me an email or a message on my Discord server. Links on my channel, and I will catch you guys in the next one. As always, stay profitable.